Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Know Your Right show. I'm your host, Terris Strength, calling out of Lagos, Nigeria. We're back on TalkShoe where we were when I first started. Call-in family 717-734-6904. You need to dial in the user ID at 533-4929 pound. Press £1 to listen to the conversation and press *2 to join the conversation. Of course, this is brought to you by Ngozi Time Multimedia. I've missed you guys. It seems like it's been a while since I've been on here. So it feels good to be back. I hope you guys have been taking care of yourselves, telling people that you love them, examining your beliefs. So, of course, here on the Know Your Right show, we talk about all things metaphysical. We talk about relationships. We talk about challenging our perspectives. And this show tonight is not going to be any different. So, thanks for joining us tonight. It's been a long time coming. Kind of wanted to talk about this. I remember when I first got started, I had a show similar to this when I started, and I started on TalkShoe. That was over 3 years ago, almost four years ago actually, when I started on TalkShoe, and I talked about some of this stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. But please, call in family, call in with your thinking caps on, call in with your comments. We appreciate your comments here, but we want to go in tonight and talk about this a little bit. I was inspired. I think I made a shout out to Karen Stern. I saw this on Facebook, and I said to myself, I want to talk about this and go over this. So here we are, family. So, spirituality, a new perspective, 14 things the misguided religious establishment doesn't want you to know. Dial in tonight. Would love to hear your comments. I would love to hear your perspectives tonight. So call in with Terris Strength and let us hear what you have to say about this. All right, I'm going to put some stuff out there. Let me see what you have to say. I also came out of Christianity. And so, of course, you know, we all have opinions about things and we have perspectives. So, call in family. Again, 717-734-6904. You have to punch in a user ID at 533-4929 pound. Press £1 to listen and *2 to join the conversation. So, call in tonight, family. Call in. This is the Know Your Right show, and I'm your host, Terris Strength. So it's good to be back. It's good to be back, family. Playing a little bit of jazz to break it up a little bit. No, just to give a little taste. So we're going to talk about it tonight. You know, one of the inspirations for this show is, when I look at what's going over in Israel with the Gaza Strip and everything, fighting over a plot of land, using religion, not only religion, as a force, a reason to continue to fight. We've seen this in history. We've seen this all over. We've seen this amongst ourselves. So people say this is usually a hot topic. Well, we have a lot of hot topics, right? Doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be talked about or examined a little bit. So call in tonight, family. Call in. Thanks for joining us. This is the Know Your Right show, and I'm your host, Terris Strength, where we talk about all things metaphysical, relationships, trying to figure it out. We talk about all types of things on this show. We interview all types of metaphysical people on this show. So call in to bring your perspective. Spirituality, a new perspective. So call in, family. Good to be back. And welcome to TalkShoe. Going with Blog Talk, on with TalkShoe. All right, so let's talk about a little on this pre-show before we get into it tonight and transition to Blog Talk. Let's talk about some of the challenges with religions tonight as a precursor. Thank you for joining the show, Mo. I just want y'all to know that this idea was all Mo Garmin, breaking the silence with Mo Garmin. She's gonna kill me. All right, so let's talk about some of the challenges with religion. Religion rules with fear. Fear of hell, fear of excommunication, fear of disappointing one's parents, fear of abandoning the community. Hold on, family, hold on. All right. Fear of abandoning the community. Fear of being different. When you practice organized religion, instead of conscious decision making, you live under constant fear. Eventually, you forget it's even there. Number 2, people in organized religions tend to pick and choose your morality. Christian morality changes over time and is interpreted differently by different Christian sects. Individual Christians disagree among each other over what they think is God's moral law. Most Christian religions take their morality from the Bible, but like to pick and choose what is relevant and what can be ignored. All right, I've experienced that when I was in the church. Number 3, intolerance is rampant. Far too many Christians assume that atheists can't be moral or are morally defective. All right. Number 4, violence. Although many atrocious acts have been carried out by individual believers, violence in Christianity has also been sanctioned by religions as a whole. From the Crusades to the Inquisition to witch hunts, many lives have been taken in the name of God and Christianity and other religions. Brother Cool Dip, thanks for joining us. I knew you would be here. Good to see you, brother. You know I love you. Hold on, family. Number 5, AIDS. AIDS and unwanted pregnancy are God's will. In parts in Africa where there is serious AIDS problem, in some cases as many as 3 out of every 4 people, and many families, yes, Jesus loves you. I know he does. Yes, I love you too, brother. Many as 3 out of every 4 people and many families are unable to care for the children that they already have. The Catholic Church continues to maintain their position that condoms are bad, putting further lives at risk and bringing more impoverished children into the world. Number 6, sexual abuse scandals. Among the morally questionable activities of some of the Catholic clergy have been the physical and sexual abuse of persons in their custody. For decades, the church covered up the abuses. Abuse victims were told to keep quiet or be excommunicated, and abusers were in most cases moved to other locations. So these are just six examples of what we're talking about. We're going to go in a little bit more and talk about the whole story of this pastor who decided to change direction. But thanks for joining us, family. Log in, call in. I would love to hear your questions and comments. Cool Dip, call in, brother. 717-734-6904. Your user ID is 533-4929 pound. Press 1 pound to listen and star 2 to join the conversation. So call in, Cool Dip, and call in anybody else who's out there that I can't see. Call in. We're going to talk about 14 things the misguided religious establishment doesn't want you to know. So we're going to talk about it tonight. You know, I'm open, family. You know, maybe you're going to give me a perspective that's going to totally twist me out. But call me up. Call me in. Call in, family. Call in. So we're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to talk about religions tonight and some of their challenges. So yes. So we know in history a lot have happened. There's been a lot of atrocities because of the misuse of religions or religions, period. We know this. All right. Come on now. Y'all know I didn't was going to play jazz all night, right? So call in, family. Yes. So it's good to be back. It's good to be back. It's been 2 months since I've been on here. It feels like I've missed you guys. There's been some great shows. We have some great shows on our network on TalkShoe now. Like I said, I started off on TalkShoe now. We're back here, better than ever. We're in our 10th year on WBNN. And so I want to thank you guys for supporting us over the years. You can call in every night. They're fantastic shows. There are now probably 2 shows on a night now. So call in and support the network. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Cool Dip. Thanks, brother. I see you've been hitting that gym hard. Good for you. Yes. So tonight we're gonna talk about some of this stuff. The reason why this is so important because a lot of it, religion has such a powerful influence over our belief systems, over our beliefs and how we move. You know, how we move throughout this realm is so strongly impacted by different religions. You know, religions, culture, it's so powerful. And so, like I've said, we need to be always analyzing what we believe. And we should be moving towards being whole, not towards control, but towards being whole and healing. You know, so a lot of what happens in this world in terms of the competition for power has to do with healing. It has to do with a belief that there isn't enough. There is enough. You know, it's akin to when people talk about, you know, if you're pro-black, you're anti-white. You know, and somehow if you're not a Christian, you're anti-God or whatever, and that's not true at all. Why is it that I can't be for me and also be with God? Or why can't I be for black people because I'm of African descent and not be anti-white? You see, and this is the dichotomy that we deal with every day, and it impacts how we move. It impacts decisions we make, and it impacts our own healing. So we always have this or that. Either you're with me or you're against me. That's not true, family. That's not true at all. You know, I can be for me. As a matter of fact, the more I'm for me, the better I can be for you. How about that one? So, you know, there's too much division. There's too much division, and we don't recognize that we're all one. We're all one. So that's the reason why I wanted to talk about this tonight, because somehow it gets lost, and you do it in the name of God. But we're here because of Him. You know, so we're going to go in tonight and we're going to talk about this. Ava, thanks for joining the show. Good to hear from you tonight, Ava. We're talking about 14 things the misguided religious establishment doesn't want you to know. We're going to talk about toxic religions. Religion is a powerful tool to control large groups of people. Powerful. Yes. So let's go in tonight, family, on the Know Your Right show with Terris Strength. We're going to go in. We're going to go in, family. You know how we do over here. Just want to talk about it, so call in. Call in, family, 717-734-6904. User ID 533-4929 #. Press 1 pound to listen and star 2 to join the conversation. Yes, yes, Ava. You see you on the show. Yes, call in. I would love to hear your comments on this topic. I know this is a touchy topic. Doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it, family. You know, the touchy stuff is the good stuff. So if you're going to talk about it tonight a little bit, we're just going to discuss it. Yes. Yes. So we gotta stop it with this or that. If you believe what I believe, or you're gonna go to hell. Like, stop it, family. Stop it. You know, you have one book, and you have 350 translations of it. 350 transliterations of the same book. How can they all be right, family? Come on now, that sounds like confusion if there ever was one. And we just want to act like that's not the case. So on this show, we're going to take a look at it. So call in, family. Call in, family. Thank you, Cool Dip. Good brother. Yes. Tell them all to call in, Cool Dip. I might need some correcting. Yes. So we'll be transitioning shortly. Be transitioning to Talk Shoe, family. Hope I don't mess the numbers up. But welcome back to Talk Shoe. This is the Know Your Right show, and I'm your host, Terris Strength, where we talk about all things metaphysical, relationship-wise. We talk about it all on this show. We interview it all. Yes. No problem, Pastor Terry. There you go, Cool Dip. Yes. Let me see, can we get this dial out? See, can we transition, family? Yes.
Followed by the pound key.
All right, here we go.
The episode up to 15 minutes before the
here we go.
Start time.
Okay. Let's see, can we transfer this?
That show ID is not valid.
All right, hold on.
Welcome to Talk Shoe. Please enter the show ID followed by the pound key. You can access the episode up to 15.
Scheduled start time. Enter your... You are joining the online studio. Your line is muted. Only the host can unmute your line. Raise your hand using *2 so the host knows when you want to speak.
All right, I guess he has me in, family. I guess he has me in. What'd you say? Can't die everybody. I never tried it, Cool Dip. You're officially a favorite. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. But we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk, Cool Dip. I've never tried to invite somebody on. I gotta try it. Maybe I'll try it with you. Congratulations, Cool Dip. We'll talk. I don't know if I should do that, Cool Dip. I'm not gonna invite you. So is it going to split my screen, you think? You think if I invite you in, it's going to split my screen? I don't know if I should do that, Cool Dip, on this show, but you know, we gotta do something together. Gotta do something together. Yes. Let me see if Brother has me in the queue. We good. We good, family. Yes, we're gonna try to run it on the live. Yes. Yes, and then I'll know. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. That sounds good, Cool Dip. Good to see you, brother. Yes. All right, family, we should be logging in about 3 minutes. 3 minutes, we'll be transitioning to talk show. Thanks for joining us, Cool Dip and Mo. Anybody else out there that I can't see, thanks for joining us this evening. The topic tonight is spirituality, a new perspective, 14 things the misguided religious establishment doesn't want you to know. I want to thank Karen Stern for this piece that popped up in my Facebook page. I saw this and I said, you know what, I want to talk about this. So thank you, Karen Stern, if you're out there listening.
You will now enter the conference. Muted.
Welcome to WBN Internet. Of course, it's your proprietor, Dr. Oladele Malay with Dose. Welcome to the Know Your Rights program. Of course, we're broadcasting live out of beautiful downtown Lagos, Nigeria, and straight from home since 2013 in Roslyn, Pennsylvania, United States of America. Now we're going to see if the 2022 International Radio Hall of Fame Broadcasting enshrinee is there. Can you hear me loud and clear, Terris?
Yes, sir. I do.
All right. Now stand by. Quiet on the set. Quiet on the set. The call letters, y'all. WBNN Nigeria. 5 seconds.
Recording started.
All right. I can go ahead and get started, brother. A little bit early. This is a product of WBNN. This is Know Your Rights, and I'm your host, Terris Strength. On air now from Lagos, Nigeria. Call in, family. The dial-in number is 717-734-6904. Your user ID is 533-4929#. Then press £1 to listen and *2 to join the conversation. And of course, this is brought to you by Ngozi Time Multimedia. Before I begin, I would like to thank Brother Oladele and the O&E Dynasty family for giving me the opportunity to share my story and my perspective. The topic tonight is spirituality, a new perspective. 14 things the misguided religious establishment doesn't want you to know. The title of this piece is Unlocking Next Dimension of Experience. Learn to concern yourself and handle yourself with utmost clarity in the dimensions that are in your present level of experience. When you have utter clarity about where you are in the present dimension, the next dimension reveals itself to you. If there is no clarity in the dimension in which you exist, then the next dimension can never arise for you. Clarity means if your intelligence is unentangled with your identifications and situations in which you now exist, then moving into the next dimension is a natural progression of your intelligence. And that was by Sadhguru. All right, family. So as I was talking on the pre-show, first of all, welcome back. I think it's been 2 months since I've been on this show with you guys. I missed you guys. Welcome back. We have another outstanding topic that we want to talk about. People say that some of these topics are off limits. You can't talk about them, this and politics and all of that. And of course, we talk about all of it. And on this show, we try to talk about many of it. We're going to talk about anything that has to do with examining our beliefs. And the reason why that's so important, because it impacts our lives and the lives of others and those that we're around. So this show is not pointing an arrow at anybody and saying someone is right or wrong or good or bad. That's not what this is about. This is to look at perspectives and to challenge ourselves and to try to be honest about some things so that we can move differently or move better. That's what this show is about. It's about challenging ourselves to be better souls and to be better people in this while we're down here and to handle what it is that we're here to do. So we all know how challenging it is to be down here in this realm. So, and then when you look at the backdrop of what's going on in Israel with the fighting over the Gaza Strip, which has been happening for years, and the fact that religion is playing a major role in keeping the conflict going, none of us want to say that and everything. We need to look at this. We can look at a lot of this stuff historically. So on this show, we talk about all things metaphysical. You know, there's a whole lot of talking, a whole lot of crap out there talking about everything. On this show, we try to talk about what we can do to massage our souls and to reaffirm our purpose of why we're here in this realm. We have many great shows on this network. You know, Angela, Hooney, Jerry Petito, all great shows talking about different topics. And please, dial in, family, dial in. Any night you can hear a fantastic show. We got Sheezus. We have all types of shows. So please, if you want to get a different perspective or want to be entertained with trying to learn something that can enhance your life, then you want to dial in to the WBNN network. So thank you for joining us this evening. Again, the topic tonight is spirituality, a new perspective, 14 things the misguided religious establishment doesn't want you to know. Now, on my post on Facebook, I made a shout out to Karen Stern because she was the one where I got this from, and it's talking about this pastor who resigned from he had an evangelical megachurch that he had, and he had to finally resign because of he just couldn't do it anymore, he said. And so when I read some of his things, I decided I wanted to do a show about it. So that was the impetus for this show. A lot of this stuff I've already known, but I decided to do a show about it and to share it with you guys. So please call in. This is a thinking show. Please call in and share your perspective. You know, share your concerns, whatever it is. Call in and let me hear it. You know, let me hear it. I have big shoulders. Let me hear what you think. Let me hear your thoughts about this. Please call in. That's what this show is about. Looking at different perspectives and seeing how we all can win and seeing how we all can move towards healing. All right. So let's go in. I talked about, I had 6 topics on the pre-show where we talked about some of the issues with organized religion. We know about a lot of them that I talked about on the pre-show. Number 1 was ruling with fear. Number 2 was picking and choosing your morality. So there are loose moralities. It changes depending on who's talking. Number 3 is intolerance. It's rampant. Don't tolerate anybody who doesn't do or see things the way you see them. You know, I did a show about 3 years ago on the millennials, and we were talking about how a big chunk of the millennials are moving away from organized religion and much more into spirituality because these kids have grown up and they've seen the judgment in their homes. They've seen the intolerance in their homes. They've seen all this stuff in their homes. And so there's a shift happening with our young people that they no longer want to subscribe. For many of us that are indoctrinated, you know, we try not to pay it any mind and we try to scare them. Well, it's not working with these newer souls that are incarnating here because they know better. They know where they come from. They know what they are. They are more in touch with their divinity. We call them difficult, right? Because they don't want to follow us. But the reality is they are more empowered. They are more in touch with their divinity. All right. Number 3 was intolerance, which is rampant. Number 4 is the violence due to Christianity and to a lot of these organized in these religions. The violence. No problem. I have a story of growing up in the church myself, and this was major for me because I grew up in the church. I grew up in organized religion, and I remember when I was in college, another church, because I was a member of the Church of Christ, and we had different churches all over the country, all over the country, different churches in different states. And the one of the churches that we used to visit, one of the pastor's son, he got a woman pregnant, and I think their sons were in a singing group at the church. He got a woman pregnant, and he didn't want the baby. He didn't want anybody to know that she was pregnant. But she said she was going to keep the baby. So in his mind, because he was in a singing group, his father was a pastor, this couldn't get out. It was going to bring shame to his father. So he shot the girl. He shot her and set her body on fire so nobody would know. That was his response. He shot her and set her body on fire. Now, of course, that was horrific. So here I am. I'm a part of this organization and everything where this goes on. The part that really got me was the responses of the other churches. And instead of them being outraged, that wasn't what I heard. What I heard was, well, I knew that they weren't all that anyway. That's what I heard. And I was like, huh? I mean, someone was murdered and set on fire because he had that much fear of bringing shame to his father. Whatever he was being taught or whatever was being channeled to him, he thought that was a better option than just having the baby out of wedlock or whatever. And so that act, it really caused me a lot of internal dissonance, cognitive dissonance, because it was like, I need to really look at this system, this psychological system. And I think many of us need to do that. We've all heard the term, we're so heavenly bound, we're no earthly good. So the division, now I can tell that story and people would say, well, they were going to the wrong church and things like that. No, family. No, we must look at the psychology of what's going on. We have to look at it because we pay for it. We pay for it within these groups. It's bad enough we have cultural groups. We incarnate and come down here in different cultural groups, different religious groups that imprison us. And they imprison us. So number 3 is intolerance, which is rampant. Number 4 is the violence. Many atrocious acts have been carried out by individual believers. Violence in Christianity has been sanctioned by religions. Number 5, AIDS and unwanted pregnancy are God's will to punish those who are engaging in sexual practices that we don't agree with. And so we say it's God punishing them. And number 6, the sexual abuse scandals that happened within the Catholic Church for years, and the church covers it up. And we know it's not right. There was some of that going on in my church. Sexual abuse with young girls. This stuff is real, and I'm sure it's going on in your churches. And so a lot of us say, well, that's a bad church. No, we must look at the system. We have to go back and study the history. So I want to go into this tonight. To my Facebook family and my TalkShoe family, we want to talk about this tonight. So please call in, family. So as you know, I was once an evangelical megachurch pastor, and my pastoral career stretched over many years. Eventually, I could no longer teach Christian doctrine with a good conscience and realized this teaching was not truly changing people's lives. And so I walked away from the whole enchilada. Below are 14 things that the misguided religious establishment doesn't want you to know. Speaking for myself and my personal experience, I was not able to see or admit these things to myself. I truly got into ministry initially because I wanted to make a difference and help people. And I relied upon the belief system I learned as the proper framework to achieve this. It took a lot of post-religion reflection to see the ways this belief system was hurting people. I offer the below list in hopes that you might disentangle yourself from harmful beliefs and attitudes impacting your life. The 14 things the misguided religious establishment doesn't want you to know. All right, we're going to get started, family. That's my little intro. Hold on, brother. I'll make sure I can see you here. All right, you're here. All right, number 1. Toxic religion is rooted in fear, especially fear about the afterlife. It leverages the false doctrine of hell to win converts and demand holiness. The fear of God's disapproval, rejection, abandonment, and punishment is another hallmark of toxic religions. Now, what is amazing to me, if we were sending our children, our young children in schools, and they were using these traits to try to educate our children, and in some places it happened, we would have a fit. But yet, we're subjected to it on a constant basis. The belief that we are separate from God or source. I want to say that again. The belief that we are separate from God and source. All right, I'm going to read this again. Number 1, toxic religion is rooted in fear, especially fear about the afterlife. It leverages the false doctrine of hell to win converts and demand holiness. The fear of God's disapproval, rejection, abandonment, and punishment is another hallmark of toxic religions. Number 2, clergy have no innate authority. Holding a church leadership position or having a theological degree does not imbue a person with special divine authority or superiority. The terms anointed, called, or chosen, or titles such as pastor, priest, bishop, elder, or evangelist or apostle do not confer any innate authority on an individual or group. I want to say that again, family. The clergy have no innate authority. Holding a church leadership position or having a theological degree does not imbue a person with special divine authority or superiority. The terms anointed, called, or chosen, or titles such as pastor, priest, bishop, elder, evangelist, or apostle do not confer any innate authority on an individual or group. Number 3, we hold sacred what we are taught to hold sacred, which is why what is sacred to one community is not sacred to another. This, family, is one of the major reasons why we fight amongst ourselves the way we do. And then we say, God, we're doing God's will. Because we believe that we have the only perspective that matters. And it's simply not true. This is what happens. It's almost like this thing creates sibling rivalry. It's the same thing that, we see this in psychology, in families, in family dynamics, where sibling rivalry is created because we believe one of the siblings has more of the love of the parent than the others. And so when we believe that, we fight amongst ourselves because we believe that, mom or dad loves the sister or the brother more than they love me. And we see this same dynamic going on in organized religion. This is what happens when we don't recognize our own divinity and understand that we are connected, that we are loved at all times. I don't have to kill you because you look different, because you think different, because you live differently. And I don't have to condemn you to hell in God's name and judge you because of that. But yet, this is what many of us subscribe to. And it's a toxic environment, family, and we got to look at it. Number 4, the stories in our sacred books aren't history. Hold on, let me make sure. Okay. The stories in our sacred books aren't history, nor were they meant to be. The authors of these books weren't historians, but writers of historical fiction. They use history or pseudo-history as a context or pretext for their own ideas. Reading sacred texts as history may yield some nuggets of the past, but the real gold is in seeing these stories as myth and parable and trying to unpack the possible meanings these parables and myths may hold. I want to show you guys, I want to go over something. All right? Before I do that, call in, family. If you're out there and you have any comments, call in. Chinchilla, if you're there, call in. Call in 717-734-6904. User ID is 533-4929#. Press £1 to listen and *2 to join the conversation. Call in, family. Let's talk about, I have these comparison sheets, okay? Because when we try to use the Bible as a text, and we think it's historical, and it's just like it says, you know, they weren't historians, but they were writers of historical fiction. So many of the passages that are in the scriptures, what we have in stone in Africa, in Kemet or Egypt, as some call it, or Kemet, I'm going to read these same passages that are in the Bible, and there are many of them. I'm going to read only a few. We know about the Christ, but we don't know about Horus, Horus. Jesus says, I and my Father are one. He that seeth me, seeth him that sent me. Horus is the Father seen in the Son. All right? Horus was the light of the world, the light that is represented by the symbolical eye, the sign of salvation. Jesus is made to declare that he is the light of the world. Notice the similarities, family. Horus was the way, the truth, the life by name and in person. Jesus is made to assert that he is the way, the truth, and the life. Horus was the plant, the shoot, the natsar. Jesus is made to say, I am the true vine. Horus says, I open the twat so that I may drive away the darkness. Jesus says, I come a light unto the world. All right? Now, a lot of these passages that I've read from the Bible about Jesus, you guys are familiar with. You are not familiar with the ones that sound very, very eerily similar, that are saying the same thing. There's only one problem with this, family. The quotes that I read from Horus are written in stone 3,000 years before the Bible. I want to say that again. These quotes are written in stone 3,000 plus years before the Bible. So how do we have the Christ story, the Christ sayings 3,000 years before there was supposed to be a Christ? This is what I mean. This is what the pastor is talking about when he talks about it being historical fiction. Okay? You have the Christ story 3,000 years before Christ. We have a caller in the queue. Caller 1 in the queue.
Hello.
Who am I speaking with?
Hello, Terris. It's Ava Holly. How are you?
Ava. How are you doing, doll?
Well, welcome. Nice to hear your beautiful voice tonight.
Good to hear you, Ava.
Good to have you back on the airwaves.
Yes, yes. What you got for me, Ava?
So let me just add this. I can't speak too much on the subject. I can just tell you where I come from.
Absolutely.
And I grew up in a Jewish household. However, we were not very religious. My grandfather was Italian. he converted to Judaism when he married my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wondered how they got together because he didn't speak much English. Although my grandmother spoke 7 languages, so that was cool.
And love is universal.
But, you know, so we grew up, I guess, as we were called Reformed Jews. But I myself am much more spiritual than religious. I hold up traditions in the Jewish custom
Yes.
for my parents, respect for both of my
Yes.
past parents and my grandmother. I hold up some Italian customs that we grew up with in our household. And I'm very spiritual. I pray every day. I believe in God. And I, you know, carry myself with respect to my family and respect to hearing how other people believe. And I'm, you know, I never put a judge on anybody.
Yes.
And I think that what you're saying is fabulous, you know, that you're inclusive and everybody has their own right to believe
Absolutely.
the way they believe.
Absolutely.
And to hear all the different things that are going on from your perspective and from your other callers and listeners' perspective, and so on and so on and so on. So thank you for letting me express that.
Yes.
And I wish you much success tonight.
Yes, Ava. Ava, when is your next show? Did you just have a show? You just had a show, right? You just had a show last night?
I just had the show on the new network last night.
Yes.
And then I'll be on again 4 weeks from there. And then tomorrow night I'm always after you. I have the my Valentine's show tomorrow night. So
Okay.
I'm pretty excited about that.
Okay, good. It's always good to hear from you, Ava, and you're absolutely right. You know, and we're seeing a lot more of this going on now, and I'm pleased. I'm glad to hear that. To be honest, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for calling in. I think we caller 2 in the queue. I think we have another caller after Ava. Caller 2, who am I speaking with? This is the Know Your Right show.
Hey, Terris, it's Genesis Amaris Kemp. How are you?
I'm doing great, Genesis. How are you doing this evening?
Well, a little tired, but I wanted to call in and show some support to your show tonight.
Please, call in. I love to have your comments. Please.
So I'm just in the background, just listening in, and it's actually very sad, like, to hear those stories that you were sharing.
Yes.
Especially whenever you talked about the fact that someone murdered a person and set them on fire.
Yes.
And it was a bit triggering because here, where I live in Houston, there was actually a lady that went into Lakewood Church over the weekend.
Yep.
And shot her son, and then also shot a 57-year-old guy, and she had a rifle in there, and you know, she was just trying to unload damage.
Yes.
And now people are saying, oh, well, she had some mental health and illness, but do people? Well, and you know, mental health and illness should not be taken lightly. But how many times are we going to keep using that excuse?
Absolutely.
If you know someone is suffering with mental health, then that's when you should, you know, take time to intervene to get that individual some help. Don't wait until something drastic or life-altering and change happens in order to say, oh, well, they suffer from mental health and illness.
Yes.
Because sometimes people may be crying out for help, but we have to know what those signs are and do it in a non-judgmental way where they feel like they could confide in us and get the help that they need.
Yes. Thanks for reminding me of that. I meant to mention that. I forgot it. Thank you for mentioning that about what happened over in Houston. That's unfortunate, and we've had many shootings coming into these churches, and it's terrible. You know, it's terrible whenever it happens. You know, people are not trying to be bad or do anything wrong. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're not. But these shootings are terrible. You know, so thank you for mentioning that, because I meant to mention that and I forgot about it.
Well, my pleasure, and thank you for bringing awareness to this topic and just shedding light on some of these stories that, you know, other people may not know about.
Yes.
And, you know, it's like a wake-up call to, like, check on people and make sure they're okay and see where their mindset is at. And if you could intervene, even if you could just call in an anonymous tip, it may be the saving grace of someone else's life. Yes,
and you raised a good point, Genesis, on the fact that, you know, basically what you're saying is, you know, we got to love each other more and help people. I mean, we a lot of this stuff happens, and you know that there are people that knew that this person was capable of doing that and did nothing, you know, and did nothing. And, you know, and I know, just like, you know, I'm sure you have stories. I know I have more stories about this topic, and we got to be honest, family, about this stuff. You know, we know good and well these people, and you know, but see, many of us, we have this mindset, well, that's them, that's somebody else's problem. And yes, it's somebody else's problem until it's not, right? Then when they end up in your church shooting up the place, now it's everybody's problem. You know, and see, this comes from us seeing ourselves as separate. Seeing ourselves as separate.
Yeah.
And we're not. You know, if you have your children, many kids within your circumference are your children. I have many children, not just my biological children, but I have many children. And until we get to the point where we start looking at it like that and become our brother's keeper, you know, we're going to have a hard time with a lot of these things changing. And unfortunately, we use religion. I'm using that as one example to forward that thinking. And it's not good. It's because you don't believe what I believe. Listen, I'm here to love people. It's not about what you believe or what you don't believe. And so thank you for calling in with that. We're going to talk more about that, but thanks for calling in, Genesis.
My pleasure. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you. All right. So we're going to get back on this. All right. So I just read to you the comparison sheets, history-wise, between Horus and Jesus. Many of us know Jesus. Very few of us know who Horus is. Horus. Horus. Horus is, quote unquote, the original Jesus that Jesus came from, or where they got the concepts from. And like I said, his stuff was written in stone 3,000 years plus before the Bible. This is important for us to know. Why does this matter? Because we're following this stuff and we think it's the cat's meow, and we don't know where it comes from. We just follow. And we got to stop following, especially where it's not leading us. It should be leading us to less judgment. Instead, it's more judgment. Number 5, prayer doesn't work. Prayer doesn't work the way you think it does. You can't bribe God or change God's mind through obedience, devotion, or groveling. The underlying theistic premises of prayer are untenable. I'm going to read that again, family. All right. Number 5, prayer doesn't work the way you think it does. You can't bribe God or change God's mind through obedience, devotion, or groveling. The underlying theistic premises of prayer are untenable. Number 6, anything you claim to know about God, even the notion that there is a God, is a projection of your psyche. What you say about God, who God is, what God cares about, who God rewards, and who God punishes, says nothing about God and everything about you. If you believe in an unconditionally loving God, you probably value unconditional love. If you believe in a God who divides people into chosen and not chosen, believers and infidels, saved and damned, high caste or low caste, etc., you are likely someone who divides people in groups and outer groups, with you and your group as the quintessential in group. God may or may not exist, but your idea of God mirrors yourself and your values. Call in family, 717-734-6904, user ID 533-4929 #. Press 1 pound to listen and star 2 to join the conversation. This is the Know Your Right show. I'm a product of WBNN. I'm your host, Terris Strength. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, the topic is the 14 things that Misguided religious establishment doesn't want you to know. I think we have another caller in the queue. Caller 3. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, Terris. This is Tiana Steep, and I wanted to call in and support your show.
Tiana.
I wanted to just comment. Go ahead.
Sure.
Okay. I wanted to just comment on what you and Genesis were talking about, and I've struggled throughout my life because I'm the type of person that goes above and beyond, even for someone I don't know. And I always have other people pulling me, saying, "Don't do that, don't do that." Why? Like it's in a business or whatever it is. And I'll just give you just a few examples, like really quickly. And one of them is just like I was at the hospital maybe a couple of months back, and I'm in the waiting room, and I see a lady coming out crying. And my spirit would not let her walk away without me talking to her. I said, hey, come here. I didn't know her. I said, what's wrong? I said, if you want to talk to me, I'm here. And she started talking to me and telling me why she was there, what was going on. And it was so helpful to her. You could tell that just like a weight lifted off of her. And now it's like we should treat people how we want to be treated. And like it's a lot of times like I'm always in a battle with people, and people would never understand me. I'm going to do what I feel is right. I'm going to treat somebody how I want to be treated, not because I want it back or I'm looking for it, because this is just me as a person. And this lady and I exchanged numbers, and we chat here and there. You know, we still chat here and there. I'll give you something that happened a long time ago. And I used to rent cars a lot, a long time ago. And I happened to keep this car one extra day. And I felt like, I happened to keep this car one extra day, and this guy was on that side of the road. Now, you know, you guys know I have physical issues, so, like, I'm like, what can I do to help him? Because he needs to get his car, like, a little bit away from the highway. So I'm talking to him, and I'm like, hey, you know, what's wrong? He's like, he told me he walked. Now, you guys are not from here, so the distance this man walked to get gas is absolutely ridiculous. It was a gas shortage. He walked to the furthest gas station he could have possibly walked to and got a little bit of gas, and it didn't work. So I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with the car. So I'm like, well, do you think you need more gas? He's like, I don't know. So I'm like, okay, come on, get in the car. Now, mind you, I'm a woman, he's a man. I wasn't scared, but I just wanted to, you know, be good for my safety. So I picked somebody else up to come with me. I had to go to a whole other town to get him gas. And before I did this, she's like, I don't have any money. I'm like, don't worry about it. When I had to go, I went to 3 different gas stations. Nobody had gas. When I got to the other town, he's like, I bet you wish you didn't stop. I'm like, no, it could have been me. So I got the gas. He put it in the car, and the car started up fine. At most normal people, and I'm not telling everybody to be like me, or you're wrong for not doing it. That's not what I'm saying. But this person started up the car, and when he started up the car, I'm like, okay, what happens if he breaks down again? I followed him all the way home to make sure he got and parked his car home, make sure he got safe, because that's what I would have wanted somebody to do for me. And I feel like I know times are like crazy now, so you got to be careful what you do, and it depends on where you live at, how safe your neighborhood is, and just crazy people could be anywhere. Yes, I'm very aware of that. But I just feel like a lot of times, it's like you were saying, we feel like it's not our problem when somebody's going through something, especially people close to us. You don't want to deal with it. I want to ask everybody listening a question. When you say, how is your day? Do you really care about how that person's day is, or you just saying it because you're used to saying it? When you tell somebody to have a good day, do you really care? If you ask a person, how was your day, and they want to tell you, are you willing to listen? Do you actually, in your heart, in your mind, your body, soul, and spirit, do you really care about that person?
You know what,
and when
Tiana?
You tell them to have a good day, are you? Go ahead.
You know what, Tiana? You've raised a very good point about that. About when you ask a person how was their day, do they really care? You're absolutely right. You know, I want to applaud. I want to applaud you because it feels to me that you're a very loving person, and you actually really care about people, and that's really what's the most important. That's most important. You know, people to me like that are really evolved people when you choose to be loving just because. And truth be told, we're all back here to learn how to love more. In some shape or form, we're back here to figure that out. We need to be judging less and loving more. So I love to hear your story in terms of you doing for somebody and everything. And I want to ask you a question. You know, why do you think you're that way? Like, why do you think you're that way? Does it have to do with culture, religion, or whatever? Or
to be honest with you, and I'm going to be 100% honest with you, and I know I don't have a lot of time to explain it, but part of it is just because I've been through so much in my life. Like, you wouldn't even imagine the things that I've been through. Like, it should be a lifetime story. And I don't want to see other people not have what I didn't have, or just, like, I feel like every interaction that you have with somebody is so important, because if you're in a bad mood and you have an interaction with somebody and you give that energy to that person could take that energy and go back to their husband, their wife, and then they go to the children. Like, everything you do and every interaction you have with somebody is so important. Even just driving, if you do something stupid driving and you make somebody mad, you don't know if they're going to take that energy because you did something stupid and go be angry at your kids and just be in a bad mood because you did something stupid. So I'm very aware of my actions. I'm not perfect by any means at all, but I just feel in my heart, it's like, you know how people do drugs and they get a high. I've never done any drugs. I've never smoked, and I've never been drunk in my life. But for me, helping other people and loving other people is my drug. I feel good when I see somebody smile on their face, or I see them do good, successful, because I put them in a place of connecting them with something. It makes me feel really good to see that.
Tiana, let me ask you.
I feel like that's how we should be.
Let me ask you a question. Do you mind sharing one of your hard times? I mean, I know it can be very personal. If you have one to share, an example for our listening audience. I mean, pick one or two. I don't want it because I know that can be very touchy. I'm just curious.
No, I don't mind. Let me see. There's so many. Okay, when I was in a wheelchair at one period, and the person that I was with, I was engaged to, actually left me when I was in a wheelchair, and I actually took very good care of him because he didn't have anything in the time that I was with him. And literally said to me, he cheated on me, and he's like, well, I want somebody who can walk on the boardwalk. This is somebody who I gave my last to, absolutely gave my last to. Being in the wheelchair and being, dependent on somebody who you feel like loves you, or so, it doesn't hurt me now. I don't even care about it anymore. Mm-hmm. But that was a very, very, a wake-up call on how you really have to know who's in your corner. Absolutely in your corner. I've had family do things that were just, terrible, that it's just, but I'm just glad. When I look at that situation, thank God I'm not like that. Thank goodness I'm not that type of person who's trying to do those things. That's how I try to look at the positive of it, that I'm not like that. When I see somebody being nasty, I may have a conversation with that person because you don't know what they're going through. So that's what I my hardships and things that I went through. It's family, people in my life. I've been hurt a lot, but I don't look at it I want to hurt everybody else. I'm not bitter. I'm thankful that I know how to heal. I know how to look at my actions and who I let in my life and say, okay, what was my place in this? Even if I did nothing wrong to that person, but I allowed them to keep doing something, or I kept seeing something, I kept seeing their potential and not who they really were. And right. If they didn't see their potential, that was my problem. I always looked at somebody's potential of who they were and what they could be, and not who they were right in front of my face. And I stopped doing that, and I stopped being hurt when I did that. So I've had a lot of hurt from situations like that. Friends just betraying me. So what you're saying, all types of things.
So what you're saying is you're saying a lot of betrayal. You've had a lot of betrayal and non-support and backstabbing, I guess, and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you. I've had a particular person who I can't say who it is because this is, I can't do this out of respect, but you ever have somebody in your life, well, this is just not asking you directly, but somebody in your life who makes it a mission to, make sure other people think things of you that is not true, to make themselves look better. There's a lot, just straight lying.
Yes.
But the thing about it, I realized it wasn't just me. They were doing it to everybody, but I didn't see it. I thought it was a mission personally against me, and I just didn't understand why. This is a family member. But I realized when one of their friends said what they did, I'm like, oh, man, this wasn't about me at all. this is something to do with them, something inside them. This is who they are in general. It's not against me. So I couldn't understand why it was happening. I wasn't happy that it happened to that person, but it made me happy for myself because it's like I wasn't singled out. I always felt like for the longest time, like, why is this person doing this to me? Like, I don't deserve this, why? And this is why, like, but it made me also careful who I speak to, who I talk to, what I talk about. Like, everybody can be friendly to you and give you good advice, or they can speak good about you, but you don't know what they're doing behind your back,
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thankful. I can tell you what has really helped me, honestly, through all the years, like, was my best friend of 25 years. Always by my back. I know for sure would die for me without even thinking about it. I'm so blessed, and this is why I can't even be mad at anybody else. Because the friendship I have, nobody I've ever met has had that friendship that I had with my friend. Not one person that I met on this earth. And the things like, if I said right now, I need something 10 miles away, they'd walk to go get it. I know this for sure without even thinking about it. And when they had heart issues, I asked the doctor, could you pick a healthy piece of my heart and give it to my friend? I didn't care if I was going to die because that's the love I have for my friend. And they have the same for me. So this is what also helped me heal too.
You are truly.
Thank you for letting me share that.
Yeah, you are truly very lucky to have someone that you feel that way about. To have a friend, they're worth. Good friends are worth gold. They are. We have all this talk online and on TikTok and everything about you can men and women can't be friends and all this stuff. You can't trust. And I hear all that garbage and it's just sad, So I'm dating you, but I can't keep my female friends, or you can't keep your male friends, And what they don't understand when they say that is wounded people can't do that. Healthy people can and do that. Wounded people you can't be around because you can't trust them. And you have to ask yourself, why are you dating wounded people? Maybe because you're wounded.
Yeah.
But all this nonsense. If you can't maintain healthy friendships, then how are you going to maintain a healthy romantic relationship? You can't get along with nobody.
Absolutely.
You can't get along with anybody.
You are absolutely. Right
and for me, I want to see that you can get along with somebody. If I meet you and you have no friends, you don't have male friends, you don't have female friends, then how long is it going to be before you and I are going to be fighting over something? You don't get along with anybody.
Yeah.
So we have all this crazy.
Do you remember what I said?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We have all this crazy teaching out here.
Remember what I said on my show?
Yes. Which one?
Oh, sorry. I said you have to pay attention to how people treat other people and how they are towards other people, not how they treat you. Because sometimes that's the best indicator of how bad or good they can treat you. If this person is lying to everybody, don't be surprised when they lie to you just because they didn't lie to you yet or whatever happens. That's what I pay attention to. I pay attention to how you are to everybody else. Not how nice you are to me or what you say to me or how you talk to me, because you can put that behavior on me at any moment. Because I'm like, I used to feel like I was special, but I'm not.
Right.
Because that behavior is who you are. So anything can tick you off to be, like, if you're a nasty person and you're very nice to me, anything can tick you off to be like that to me. And I cannot, why should I be shocked about that? I'm seeing this in front of my face. So you're absolutely right. If she's arguing with everybody, you never know how long it's going to be. It may never happen, but that doesn't mean it won't. And you got to be prepared if that's the person who decides, not you, General, not you personally, but if you want to deal with that person, know what you can get and see that.
Yes.
Like, that's important to see the behavior displayed around everybody else.
Absolutely.
I'll pay attention. And the thing is, you don't always have to speak on what you see. People try to manipulate you. You can just be quiet and just, oh, okay, That, like, people who don't know you're smart and don't know what you see, you will see so much more because they don't have a clue that you know what they're doing. They don't have an absolute clue.
Yes.
And you'll see so much of be real to you. That's the thing,
Well, thank you.
That's the thing.
Tiana, Power of Thoughts. When's your next show, Tiana? You just had a show. When is your next show?
So, yeah, my next one, if I'm wrong, well, tell me, it's February 28th. Yo nací para amarte. And then the Power of Thoughts will be March 8th. 9:30 p.m. And I am Tiana Speaks. And if you like what I said, you can follow me on Speaks Radio. And please listen to Terris Strength and this wonderful station of WBNN. And happy anniversary, Beverly Nation.
Well, you go out there and you keep loving people, Tiana. Thanks for calling in. All right. We all love you here on this network. Thanks for calling in. All right. Well, that was a great exchange, family. So listen, I want to get back to my transcript here. All right. So the last one I did was number 6. Anything you claim to know about God, even the notion that there is a God, is a projection of your psyche. What you say about God, who God is, what God cares about, who God rewards, and who God punishes says nothing about God and everything about you. If you believe in an unconditionally loving God, you probably value unconditional love. If you believe in a God who divides people into chosen and not chosen, believers and infidels, saved and damned, high caste or low caste, etc., you are likely someone who divides people into in-groups and out-groups, with you and your group as a quintessential in-group. God may or may not exist, but your idea of God mirrors yourself and your values. Number 7, nobody is born Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Catholic, Protestant, etc. People are born human and are slowly conditioned by narratives of race, religion, gender, nationality, etc. to be less than human. Period. Well said. Number 8, theology isn't the free search for truth, but rather a defense of an already held position. Theology is really apologetics, explaining why a belief is true rather than seeking out the truth in and of itself. All theological reasoning is circular, inevitably proving the truth of its own presupposition. You know, I think it was very interesting, even when you study the Bible and the whole story of Christ and the problems that he had with the Pharisees and the Sadducees, right? You know, his biggest problem was with religious folk. That was his biggest problem. They're the ones that wanted him crucified. It wasn't the prostitute. It wasn't the burglar. It wasn't the person who was out there doing, quote unquote, the wrong things. He didn't have a problem with them. He had his biggest problem with religious folk. Those who considered themselves learned and those who were sitting there judging him for what he didn't have, you know, because he didn't come from money or come from whatever. And who is he to proclaim himself the son of God or the son of man or whatever, right? As the story goes. But even then, even with the Christ, if he came back again and changed his name to George, he would be crucified again because we can't see. We haven't developed the ability to see. We will crucify him all over again. So I think that's very interesting when you talk about a theology. You know, when you talk about ancient Kemet or some of your ancient societies, particularly in Africa, they operated as a theocracy. They saw God in everything, in the trees, in the animals. They saw God in everything. And when the Europeans came or when the Greeks came, they thought they were worshiping all these things, but they weren't. They were just honoring the essence of God in everything. So basically they were honoring the oneness of it all, you know, and those from the outside looking in didn't understand that because they didn't have respect for everything. Theirs was more hierarchical. You know, they knew who the true God was, and it was called nature, where we get nature. It was called nature. But they saw deity, they saw God in everything. And I'm saying, family, we have to get to a place to where we see our own divinity in each other. We see God in each other. When that happens, then we will stop killing each other. We will stop judging each other. All right? So theology isn't the free search for truth, but rather a defense of an already held position. Theology is really apologetics explaining why a belief is true rather than seeking out the truth in and of itself. All theological reasoning is circular, inevitably proving the truth of its own presuppositions. Number 9, becoming more religious cannot save us. Religion is a human invention reflecting the best and worst of humanity. Becoming more religious will simply allow us to perpetuate compassion and cruelty in the name of religion, because religion always carries the danger of fanaticism. Becoming more religious may only heighten the risk of us becoming more fanatical. There are no truer words, all right? It only heightens the risk of us becoming more fanatical. Call in family, 717-734-6904, user ID 533-4929 pound, press 1 pound to listen, and star 2 to join the conversations. This is the Know Your Right show with Terris Strength, spirituality, a new perspective, 14 things the misguided religious establishment doesn't want you to know. All right. Number 10. Becoming less religious cannot save us. In fact, being against religion can become its own fanaticism. Becoming less religious will simply force us to perpetuate compassion and cruelty in the name of something else. Secular societies that actively suppress religion have proven no more just or compassionate than religious societies that suppress secularism or free thought. This is because neither religion nor the lack of religion solely nullifies our human potential to act out of ego, greed, fear, hostility, and hatred. All right, family, I want to read that again. I want you to listen carefully. Becoming less religious cannot save us. In fact, being against religion can become its own fanaticism. Becoming less religious will simply force us to perpetuate compassion and cruelty in the name of something else. Secular societies that actively suppress religion have proven no more just or compassionate than religious societies that suppress secularism or free thought. This is because neither religion nor the lack of religion solely nullifies our human potential to act out of ego, greed, fear, hostility, and hatred. Number 11. Check this phone. Number 11. A healthy religion is one that helps us own and integrate the shadow side of human nature for the good of person and planet, something few clergy are trained to do. They are apologists, not liberators. If you want to be more just, compassionate, and loving, you must do the personal work within yourself and free yourself from the conditions that lock you into injustice, cruelty, and hate. And this means you have to free yourself from all of your narratives, including those you call religious. All right? Now, I want you to think about that, family. I want you to think about what I just read and how important that is. When you think about what's going on in the Middle East, when you think about what's going on in pockets around the world, when you think about what's going on within this country, when you think about just 50 to 60 years ago, there was a heaven for white people, there was a heaven for black people. Okay? Not even 100 years ago in this country. You know, we must look at what's going on with this thing called religion and how it causes us to move amongst each other. How are we treating each other? Tiana made some very good points about trying to love people just for the sake of loving. How many people, you know, and I've asked this question to my friends. I've talked about this on other shows when I talked about the divine masculine and feminine. And I want to ask you as the listening audience. And I'm going to start with the ladies, right? If you're listening to me out there on TalkShoe and Facebook Live, how many women do you know that are loving just for the sake of loving? And what I mean loving is they try to love everyone. Everyone. I want to ask you to count on your hand how many women that you know that are like that. And if you know a bunch, please call in. And the same question goes for men. How many men do you know that strive to be loving for the sake of loving? How many men do you know? And I've had a few of my friends who've given me some numbers. But for the most part, many of us, we spend years in going to these churches. We spend years in these groups and things like that. And we do not learn to be more loving. But we spend years, we spend time, but we struggle loving others, you know, and that's a question for us to ask ourselves. That's a question for us to ask ourselves. What are we doing here, family? What are we doing? So I want you to think about, you know, what's going on. I think we have another caller in the queue, caller 4. Who am I speaking with?
Yo, this is Clever one half of the Blues Brothers.
What's going on,
Representing from the Broad Street bully side of Philadelphia. With DoorDash done put the grub on side of the crib, the Chick-fil-A on the step, but it was at the wrong house. Was good.
What's going on, Clev? How you doing, brother?
Yo, everything is racist out here, you know what I'm saying? And you know I'm just hang gliding in from a long mission out here, you know what I mean? Serving justice out here on the wilderness of these streets, you know what I'm saying? Trying to get these young fellas in order. You feel me? Because they all stars lit up on GTA, you know what I mean? Mission failed. You feel what I'm saying?
Yes.
Call of Duty with unlimited ammo, you know what I'm saying? In real life. Fortnite, getting the whole house blown up. You heard? So I'm trying to go ahead and take care of business out here. But I'm listening in to this paramount size of a informative show that you got going on here. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And if you don't mind, I want to stab in with something. Please. Very important in correlation to what you're talking about. Because here's the thing. People got to understand. Religion is what it is by definition, where it you know, and people need to know this, that God has a system on how he sends the information to the people. If you're going to believe in God, that's one thing, but understand that you have to have knowledge on how this thing works. You can't freestyle and guess on how these things go. Mm-hmm. You have to go by what's prescribed, because you can't go by what's prescribed over here and then freestyle the rest of the part. You know what I'm saying? Right. So what happens is this: people have to understand that the system on God, first of all, God created angel, jinn, and mankind. You know what I'm saying? Where the jinn, amongst the jinn are spirits that we do not see and hear. You know what I'm saying? The angel were created from smokes of light. Jinn from the angels from the light, jinn from the smokeless flame, and the human being from the clot of the clay. You know what I'm saying? The mixture of the nut fat. You know what I'm saying? So the whole thing about it is this: when God sends information, he uses the angels, and to whatever forms of information he's going to send, he takes the angel, he chooses a messenger, the angel goes to the messenger. Once the message is to the messenger conveys the message. This is what becomes the religion at that particular point. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Where whatever the messenger at the particular time was prescribed, that is what you're supposed to practice. That is your methodology. Anything beyond that the messenger did not come with, then you're freestyling, making it up, innovating. This is how we have all these different variations of a religion. Verily, every religion, every methodology is not a religion. For every religion, of course, is a methodology. However, people extract things from religion, from what has been prescribed to the messenger, and accommodate things outside of that to their own liking. And then they teach it to people. This is how you get all these different versions of these things. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that's the whole other thing with that, where you have to understand what it is and what it's not. You know what I mean? What religion is, by the standpoint, is what the messenger has conveyed to the people to follow. That's what that is. Now, as far as theology, you know what I'm saying? Theology is just a science of a person learning different methodologies of what has been extracted from religions, you know what I'm saying, to see the difference and variations of them, not necessarily understanding the natural sense of it, where the purpose of practicing a methodology or learning it is to learn how to practice monotheism correctly, because all the messengers were chose to teach monotheism. Anything that teaches polytheism, of course, is an X on the ceiling by giving. You know what I'm saying? Now, here's the other thing. People got to stop confusing themselves in what they want to believe and what they don't want to believe. Where if you believe in God, right, and you believe that anything that's in the Bible is from Him, you know what I'm saying? You have to learn what is from Him and what's not. Most people do not. You know what I'm saying? Where they go into however they feel about the information before they learn what the information actually is. You see what I'm saying? And furthermore, people understand this. The same disbeliefs in all the disasters and all the punishments and what you read about in these Bibles, these are the prime examples of what's happening to you today. For your same disbelief, trying to guess, trying to freestyle, trying to make up your own accommodations, trying to make up your own methodologies, trying to make up your own religion. So yes, that's what I had for that real quick. And I will be on the 21st hang gliding. And I normally don't share my subjects, but the topic will be men who turn hoes into housewives. And what is the definition of having panties tied around your neck? That is the subject matter of the show on the 21st in this 2024 street year of, what we is, February? Yes, it is February month. Yeah, a lot of hot shit going on this month. Excuse my language. A lot of hot going on because, you know, we all be with WB and M10 and the up, you know what I'm saying? This clever one, hang glide. That's for Chinchilla. I'm clever one half of the Blues Brothers, representing from the Broad Street Bully side of Philadelphia, where your grandmom is arguing with Sherry and Alexa. Check your satellite.
Thanks for calling in, Clever One. I believe he was a linear host of the year, right, brother? Oh, he was host of the year. What was it, last year? Clever One.
No, he was linear new host of the year in 2022. 2022, and
okay.
Doing an outstanding job. And I love Clever and his perspective. Now back to your program.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for calling in, Clever One. Thanks for calling in. All right. So let's get back to what I was talking about. Continue to call in, family. So number 12, religious leaders claim that their particular understanding and interpretation of their sacred books should be universally accepted. Religious leaders often say, "My authority is the Bible." It would be more accurate for them to say, "My authority is what they taught me at seminary the Bible means." People start with flawed or false presuppositions about what the Bible is, such as the Bible was meant to present a coherent theology about God or is a piece of doctrinal exposition. The Bible is the inerrant, infallible, and sole message or word of God to the world. The Bible is a blueprint for daily living. Too often, religious leaders make God about having correct theology. There are a lot of unhappy, broken, hurting, suffering, depressed, lonely people in church with church-approved theology. This is true. This is true. And in prisons, and it's the same thing that me and Tiana were talking about a couple of calls ago, how in these relationships, many of us are in these relationships and they're prisons. They're prisons for us of our belief that we're in these marriages, we're in these relationships, and they're creating dis-ease. We're getting sick in these marriages. And we don't even understand that. Many of us don't even understand that we've created prisons. We saw our parents live in these prisons, these psychological prisons. We come out of these churches that are prisons with judging, and meanwhile, our bodies are screaming at us for healing. Right? Our bodies are telling us that we need to make changes. Number 13, if your livelihood depends on the success of your church as an organization, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that you will mostly define and reward Christianity as participation in church structures and programs. Christian living is mostly a decentralized reality or way of life, not a centralized or program-dependent phenomenon. Church attendance, tithing, membership, service, and devoted participation become the hallmarks of Christian maturity. All right? Hope you guys caught that. I'm going to read that again. If your livelihood depends on the success of your church as an organization, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that you will mostly define and reward Christianity as participation in church structures and programs. Christian living is mostly a decentralized reality or way of life, not a centralized or program-dependent phenomenon. Church attendance, tithing, membership, service, and devoted participation become the hallmarks of Christian maturity. So you're considered a good Christian by doing those things. So again, family, I want us to think about the stuff that I'm talking about and reading tonight. I want us to think about it. Can we think about it and try to be honest as this pastor did? Hold on, family. We have another caller in the queue. Caller 5. Who am I speaking with? Hello? Caller 5.
Hello, Terris. This is Mo Garman calling from Philadelphia. How are you?
How are you doing, Mo? I know I put you on Front Street, Mo.
That was really messed up. That's okay.
I had to do it, Mo. I had to do it.
I was just calling in to support your... Huh?
I said I had to do it. I know you're going to get me, but I had to do it.
Yeah. I had to call in to support your show. This has been a fantastic show. I've been learning a lot, just listening to people and hearing the point of view. It has been wonderful. I have to compliment you. It's been wonderful to hear everybody come together and give different commentary without attacking each other.
Right.
And I just wanted to say that because, usually you get into a situation where you're bringing up religion and people become combative. Much like you were saying before, a lot of people, when they talk about their religion, they become violent and they don't even know why. They just ready to attack somebody because they disagree with them. So a lot of your comments.
Why do you think that? Can I ask you a question?
I've lived through some of that.
Mo, I want to ask you a question. Why do you think that is? Because I've just talked about it for the first 13 sections of what I was just reading. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that we can't talk about it unless it becomes violent or whatever? Why is that?
I think it's because it's a core belief. You have certain beliefs that you have that are smaller, but when you touch on someone's core belief and they run out of things to say, and because it is a core belief, they want so much to project that out to someone else. And if you don't agree with them with that core belief, then they have no other recourse but to become combative.
Yes,
it's like they run out of things to do.
Yes, and this is what we're talking about. This is the reason why I'm doing this show, because this is the reason why we fight. Not being able to accept another perspective and it be okay, right?
Yeah.
That's part of our conditioning. You're just giving an example of what this whole show is about. Because we see this going on in Israel. We see this going on in other parts of the world. We've known how this is going on in history. Yet we just follow. Many of us just follow without really looking and thinking about the systems of it. And so we fight. Why does your belief, why is your belief threatened by somebody else who has a different perspective? All the perspectives can be good. Right? If it's not harming somebody, if it's not harming them or threatening their life, then why is it so bad? You know?
Yeah, you gave a great example of the man in your church who killed his girlfriend. That's a great example. I mean, I hate to say that it's a great example, but it is. It's a great example of fear.
Yes.
You're so afraid. He was so afraid of what his father would say and what others would think of him that fear actually created that situation.
Exactly.
You know, he actually created that.
And you're right. And the part that really got me was it was the pastor's son. So if anybody, it was the pastor's son. So you would think if anybody would know more, would have more divinity, will understand that more would be this kid, right? Because his dad is the one leading the flock, right? His dad is the one. Right. And yet, what was he really being taught, right? What was he really being taught underneath? You know, and that's why when that happened, you know, that was a turning point for me to really take a look at what was going on psychologically. You know, even back then, you know, I was looking at things psychologically, but it's very, very powerful. Like, we must examine our beliefs. I say this all the time. We must examine our beliefs and challenge our beliefs. You know, and we got to look at, you know, I mean, we're parents. You know, we have children that we need to be teaching. And what are we teaching our children? You know, and everything. So I didn't mean to cut you off, Mo. Please say some more, but it's all very interesting.
No, it's just really amazing, you know, when you challenge someone's belief system, how we resort back to our basic instinct of violence. You know, it's just amazing how that does occur, and it's unfortunate because, you know, we should be more open-minded. At least that's what the words in the Bible do teach you, to try to be more open-minded and be loving and forgiving of each other. But it's hard because, like I said, it's all about doctrine and theology in a person instead of what I think the message is truly about. And we should be able to talk about different genres without attacking each other. And that was just pretty much all I wanted to say. But, you know, we do need to have more tolerance.
Yes.
With one another.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you for that, Mo. Mo, when is your next show?
Oh, my goodness. When is my next show? My next show is February the 23rd. Yeah. I think about that myself. I was like, wait a minute.
And do you know what you're going to do?
Right here on WBNN.
Do you know what you're going to talk about for your next show, Mo?
Not yet, and if I did, I wouldn't tell you after you get into the thoughts like that. But that's all right.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for your comments, Mo. Thanks for calling, and I appreciate your comments as always. This is Mo Garmin. She's the host of Breaking the Silence with Mo Garmin, an outstanding host on the WBNN. Like I said, we have many outstanding hosts. You've heard them tonight. The often comical, clever one was called The Previous, and Tiana, The Power of Thoughts. So we have a lot of great hosts. Ava Holly, Jerry Petito, Hooney. We have a lot of great shows. Please dial in this number. Call in, family, 717-734-6904. User ID number is 533-4929#. Press 1# to listen and *2 to join the conversation. Thanks for chiming in. And we're going to begin to wrap up the show. I have one more to read from this pastor. And then we can wrap this show up. Number 14. You are capable of guiding your own spiritual path. from the inside out and don't need to be told what to do. You naturally have the ability, capacity, tools, and skills to guide and direct your life meaningfully, ethically, and effectively. Through the use of your fundamental human faculties such as critical thinking, empathy, reason, conscience, and intuition, you can capably lead a life. You can capably lead your life. You have the choice to cultivate a spirituality that doesn't require you to be inadequate, powerless, weak, and lacking, but one that empowers you towards strength, vitality, wholeness, and the fulfillment of your highest potentialities and possibilities. And this was signed by Jim Palmer, was his name. All right, family? So I hope you guys gleaned something from this. I hope that this show tonight helps you to understand or shed a light on your own divinity. And because many of you hear me say your own divinity doesn't mean that you're anti-God or whatever. I'm acknowledging the God that resides within us all. And that is ultimately what this show is about. And that's really all that I have for tonight. Brother?
Well, first of all, I want to thank all the folks that counted out Robert tonight to just listen to different opinions. And this is from his perspective as a journalist. And, you know, a lot of times I always say, thank God all of my degrees are not in theology or religion. My degrees are in journalism. This is what I do on a constant basis. This is what my life is. To allow people to be themselves. To allow all people to have the mic. When you disrespect the mic, it's going to show. Yes, you say, I love you, brother O. I will be with you forever. But you don't. And you disrespect the mic. And, you know, other people come. And this tonight shows the great, outstanding host of the O&E universe. All of our wonderful and outstanding support networks. Smart ASS, Uhuru, Hawk Network, and Mind Crushers, and of course, the mother of it all, the one and only Beverly Nation. It is to be wonderfully encouraged, congratulated, and honored in our 11th year of existence. Congratulations to the 2020 WBNN leading the host of the year. But in Excelsior, the 2022 International Internet Radio Hall of Fame broadcasting enshrinee, Mr. Terris Strength, on his 56th WBNN all-time connection record with the Darlene Lawrence Championship, honoring our late, great Hall of Famer. And shout out to all the folks in the charter that, you know, count out Robert to be here with us. You know, the great Antonia Bat, who, you know, who's our, you know, the eldest host here in tenure since 2013. And of course, you know, February 27th is when she started. And she's seen them come and seen them go. And to all the charter, Lovey Ellis, Louis Devon, the Pattersons, and of course, the one and only late Darlene Lawrence, and Dar Henderson, Tina Lozada, Dean Turner. They're the ones that really, you know, point at this outstanding network. And, you know, we have a new intern at WBNN, Beverly Nation. And her name is Heather Fricky. She'll be on Thursday. Okay. And what more can we say? Tomorrow night, we have Ava Holly and the Casual Chat right here. Of course, 9:30 Eastern Standard on the one and only Beverly Nation. And of course, Beverly Nation is advertising to and go to Time Multimedia. Pinterest, Google, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Ola Dully Millen, we go to their Facebook. Any comments, suggestions, so I want for program tonight? that goes with gmail.com. I am your mother and father's favorite producer, Dr. Ola Dully Millen, we go to say good night and good luck to all the folks out there in Armed Forces Radio that support us on a constant basis. Thank you, sailors and soldiers what you do for our country. And we hope that we give you, since 2014, the graciousness to be able to give you good, outstanding transcripts and journalism. One thing that I love about my hosts, they always come on time to their shows. And the support is very, 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 very deep. The world is watching us at Beverly Nation. Do you support? Do you really support all the hosts? Do you take time at least call in at least 10 or 15 minutes to listen to every single host? To glean from them? To understand that? That's something that it needs to be acknowledged all around the world. Because we are the greatest internet radio network of all time. And I'm so proud of all of us on a constant basis. And now back to In Excelsior, the 2022 International Radio Hall of Fame broadcasting enshrinee. Congratulations
Unmuted.
to Terris Strength. Good night.
Thank you, Dr. O. Just want to tell everybody, I want to thank everyone who called in for the show. I enjoyed your comments. They were powerful comments. I enjoyed all of our great hosts that called in. Anybody out there listening, I hope I've given you a perspective to think about, to challenge what you're doing. The goal is to incentivize all of us to love more and judge less. So I thank you. I thank you for the opportunity to do just that. I will see you guys in 4 weeks, and make sure you tell someone you love them. I see you in 4 weeks for another show. Thank you and good night.
Your line has been disconnected by the moderator. Goodbye.
All right, Facebook family, thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate you. Candace, thanks for watching. Abina, thanks for joining us. Marlene, Miss Das, thanks for joining us. Mo, Kuda, I'm going to talk to you. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you guys in a month with another episode of Spirituality, A New Perspective. Thanks for joining us. Again, just like I said on Talk Show, make sure you tell someone you love them. All right? I'll see you in 4 weeks. Make sure you, if you want to contact me, you can get at me on Facebook or Instagram. All right? I'll see you, family, in 4 weeks. Good night.